Welcome to Chapter 2. Last week, Chapter 1 provided a good introduction to the subject of networking. We saw the view of the internet from the nuts and bolts perspective of the layers and protocols. In subsequent chapters, we'll go into more details on these layers. We also talked about viewing the internet from a different angle, but something you are more familiar with. Applications will review the internet as an infrastructure to provide services for applications. This week, we'll examine the application layer. Here's the chapter outline. By studying this layer, we'll see both the infrastructure and services perspectives of networking. We will examine 5 application protocols that you are familiar with: web, email, domain name system, peer-to-peer, and video streaming. We will see how an application in one system works using protocols to send information to an application to process in another system across the network. 4 of the applications we will study are examples of this: web, email, peer-to-peer, and video streaming. The other application we will study, the domain name system, or DNS, is an example of the internet as an infrastructure for services. Although users make use of DNS, it is not so much a user application as is needed by other applications for translating host names to IP addresses. Hence, it is part of the infrastructure and platform the internet provides. There are a number of concepts in this chapter to look out for. In particular, what is stateful versus stateless? What is non-persistent versus persistent? What is proprietary versus open, and in-band versus out-of-band? What is pipelining in network apps? What is a push app and what is a pull app? And for DNS, what is an alias and a canonical hostname? And what are the advantages and disadvantages of these concepts? For example, you'll learn details about HTTP. You'll find that HTTP is stateless and in-band. It is an open protocol whose default mode uses a persistent connection with pipeline. It is mainly a pull protocol, in contrast to the SMTP mail server, which is primarily a push protocol. What are sockets and ports, and how do they relate to applications? You are getting experience with these at programming assignment number 1. When you finish this chapter, you should be able to explain what these terms mean and what they involve, including the distinction between network and application architecture. So read the sections in the chapter and look at the related videos. Then do the chapter quiz, the chapter assignment, and your journal. You have 2 labs to complete: 1 Wireshark lab and 1 Mininet lab. For this Wireshark lab, you will need to use the provided Wireshark traces instead of actually capturing the HTTP traffic. Check the lab instruction PDF to see which trace to use for each part of the lab. Finally, you will need to turn in the programming assignment number 1.